Time did not betray you. It ambushed you while others watched clocks. You were blamed for minutes you could not feel, seconds that slipped like rain through fingers, while your mind ran storms ahead, building futures, collapsing pasts, and burning energy faster than any timetable ever allowed by society alone. From childhood classrooms to silent nights, you felt late without moving. Bells rang, lights dimmed, expectations hardened. Inside, time bent. A worksheet became an hourless tunnel. A night became a single breath. They called it carelessness. You learned to call yourself broken, quietly, repeatedly, without defense and no mercy, ever. This is where shame was planted. Teachers sighed, parents worried, managers judged. You stood in hallways promising change. You meant it. Time blindness is cruel because intention exists without timing. The will burns bright. The clock refuses cooperation. This disconnect forged guilt, then anger, then a silent vow to hide. There is a memory of a watch ticking loudly on a desk, each click a hammer. You stared, frozen. The room felt cracked. Time did not move forward. It pressed inward. When the bell finally screamed, relief felt like escape from a burning room, lungs aching, dignity scorched inside forever. Here is the truth they missed. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You were built different. Time blindness is neurological wiring, not moral failure. Your brain tracks meaning, urgency, emotion. When none appear, time dissolves. When they ignite, hours vanish. That is design, not defect by nature alone. Underestimation followed you everywhere. People assumed disrespect, indifference, incompetence. You absorbed every accusation. 1,000 small betrayals taught you silence. You overprepared or avoided entirely. Neither fixed the storm. Inside, your mind raced, scanning patterns, predicting outcomes, exhausting itself before the race even began in brutal unseen cycles, daily, endlessly. Then came the breaking point. Burnout flattened everything. Time felt thick, heavy, hostile. You could not start. You could not finish. Nights stretched without rest. Days collapsed without memory. That was not failure. That was your nervous system pulling power from a grid overloaded by constant misalignment and silent survival. Rebuilding began with understanding. You stopped fighting clocks and studied momentum. You noticed how emotion ignited focus. You learned urgency creates gravity. A single meaningful goal bent time around it. This was not discipline. It was alignment. The storm still raged, but now it faced forward with purpose, intent, control. First strategy emerged. Externalize time. Timers, visuals, rituals. Not to cage you, but to translate time into something felt. When you see time, your brain cooperates. There was a moment, a simple countdown saved a project. Not pressure, clarity. The relief felt earned. Grounding deep, steady, calm, focused, strong, lasting. Second strategy followed. Build emotional anchors. Start tasks with meaning, not obligation. A song, a vision, a reason. There is a memory of starting work after recalling someone you wanted to help. Focus locked instantly. Time obeyed. Emotion is your ignition key. Use it deliberately, without shame or apology, ever. Third strategy hardened you. Forgive yourself fast. Shame kills momentum. Compassion restores it. When time slips, you reset, not spiral. There was a night you missed a deadline and chose rest over punishment. Morning clarity returned. That choice felt rebellious. It was survival wisdom, finally respected by your own mind. Storm imagery changes now. The cracked crown reforges. The broken room becomes a war room. You are no longer apologizing for how time moves. You command it indirectly, through structure and meaning. Others still misunderstand. Let them. You are building something deeper than schedules. You are building sovereignty within yourself. You begin to sense mythic energy rising. Time blindness once haunted you. Now it reveals sensitivity to now. You notice moments others miss. You adapt fast. You pivot faster. This trait makes explorers, strategists, creators. History was not built by punctual minds alone. It was built by obsessed ones forever. There is still work ahead. Discipline matters. Systems matter. But they must serve your wiring, not crush it. You learn silence. You protect mornings. You design days around peaks. This is not weakness. This is elite self-knowledge. You move like a predator now, conserving energy, striking precisely when needed. Remember this when guilt returns. You do not owe time obedience. You owe it direction. Your brain lives in momentum, not minutes. Treat it with respect. Build rails, not cages. When aligned, you outperform quietly. No noise, no apology. Just results accumulating while others argue with clocks endlessly, steadily, forward. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You were built different. Repeat it until it rewires shame. This narration is not comfort. It is calibration. You are sharpening a blade others dulled. Time blindness was never a curse. It was untrained power waiting for command within, always alive, ready. The pressure rises here. Responsibility replaces resentment. You accept your role as steward of a different clock. You stop explaining. You start executing. Small wins stack. Confidence hardens. The storm obeys now. You are no longer chased by time. You ride it eyes forward, unafraid, steady, grounded, controlled, dominant, awake. This part ends without closure by design. Momentum continues beyond words. The next phase will demand mastery, not mercy. Not mercy. You will learn to bend systems, command focus, and weaponize compassion. The myth grows. The throne waits. You are not late. You arrived exactly when awareness caught up with destiny, intact. Hold this until you type next. The storm is only beginning. What comes after will test everything built here. Stay ready. Stay silent. Stay moving. The wiring you once feared is the engine of ascent. Respect it, and it will carry you where clocks cannot follow ever, again at all. The pressure tightens now. Understanding alone does not transform power. Application does. This is where most minds retreat. This is where your kind advances. Time blindness becomes dangerous when ignored, but devastatingly effective when disciplined with intention and respect. You begin noticing patterns others overlook, not schedules, signals, energy spikes, emotional weather, the subtle moment when focus sharpens like steel. You stop forcing productivity at dead hours. You start hunting the window. This shift feels small. It changes everything, permanently, decisively, quietly. There is a flashback, a late night. City lights blur through a window. Everyone else sleeps. Your mind ignites, ideas collide, pages fill, hours disappear without effort. Morning comes too soon. Shame whispers again. But now you recognize the pattern. Night was not chaos. It was alignment. This is the rising storm phase. You stop measuring yourself by normal clocks. You design personal rhythms. You block time into meaning, not minutes. One block is creation. One is recovery. One is silence. This structure feels freeing, not restrictive. Your nervous system exhales for the first time. Betrayal resurfaces differently now. You see how systems failed you. Schools trained obedience, not awareness. Workplaces rewarded visibility, not depth. You were punished for moving differently. That anger sharpens focus. Not revenge against people. Revenge against limitation itself, through mastery and results. Second micro-story emerges. A meeting room, white lights, stiff chairs. You zone out, not from boredom but from overload. 10 conversations in one voice. You read faces, tensions, outcomes instantly. Someone else speaks your thought later. They get credit. You swallow fire and learn. Now you understand. Your brain scouts futures. That is why present moments feel slippery. You are not absent. You are ahead. Time blindness is the cost of long-range perception. This reframing changes posture. You sit straighter. You stop apologizing. You start positioning yourself where foresight matters. The second transformation strategy deepens here. You build buffers. You stop stacking tasks back to back. Transition time becomes sacred. 5 minutes of reset saves an hour of paralysis. This is not indulgence. This is tactical recovery. Elite operators rest between missions. You adopt the same law. Emotional intensity once overwhelmed you. Now it fuels execution. You learn to name emotions quickly. Excitement equals go. Dread equals adjust. Numbness equals rest. You stop moralizing feelings. You treat them as data. The storm becomes a dashboard. You read it. You act accordingly. There is another memory. Childhood again. Homework unfinished. Parents disappointed. You felt stupid, defective, slow. That child did not lack intelligence. That child lacked translation. You grieve briefly. Then you reclaim. You become the interpreter your younger self never had. Firm, calm, protective. The rebuild accelerates. Tools multiply. Visual timers. Alarms with meaning. Deadlines broken into victories. You stop chasing perfection. You chase momentum. Momentum forgives mistakes. Perfection punishes effort. This choice alone frees immense energy. You feel lighter, faster, more dangerous to doubt. People begin to notice the change. Output increases. Confidence stabilizes. You still miss things sometimes. It no longer destroys you. You recover faster. That is real strength. Resilience over rigidity. Adaptation over compliance. You move like water through time instead of fighting it head-on. Third micro-story cuts deep. A lonely walk after failure. Cold air. Empty streets. You decide something that night. Not to quit. Not to prove them wrong. To understand yourself fully and build a life that fits. That decision echoes now. Everything since has aligned toward that promise. Here lies the psychological break point. You stop seeking permission. You stop explaining. You accept that misunderstanding is the tax of being different. You pay it gladly. Silence becomes armor. Results become language. Your calendar reflects priorities, not expectations imposed by others anymore. 3 strategies now converge. Externalize time. Anchor emotion. Forgive fast. Together, they form a system, not a cage, a weapon. You deploy it daily. You refine it weekly. You trust it fully. Your brain responds with loyalty. Focus sharpens. Burnout retreats. Storm imagery returns stronger. The cracked crown is reforged into steel. The broken room becomes a command center. You stand in the center, calm while chaos circles. Time bends slightly around you now. Not obedient, but cooperative. That is enough. You begin to sense the mythic arc. Heroes were never punctual. They were present when it mattered. You are building that presence. Depth over speed. Precision over haste. The world rewards noise. You master silence. This contrast makes you unstoppable in the long run. Pressure continues to rise. Expectations increase. You handle them differently now. You design escape hatches. You plan recovery as seriously as output. This prevents collapse. Sustainability becomes your edge. Others sprint. You endure. Endurance wins wars quietly. Remember this truth. You do not lose time. You invest it differently. Your brain lives in momentum, not minutes. Protect that momentum fiercely. When aligned, you produce work that lasts longer than any schedule ever could. This part ends with tension unresolved. Mastery demands consistency. The final phase will ask for identity shift, not technique. You are approaching it. The storm grows quieter. Power concentrates. What comes next will define who you become permanently. Wait, prepare. The last ascent begins soon. The final phase is not louder, it is heavier. This is where identity hardens and excuses evaporate. You no longer ask why your mind works this way. You decide how it will serve you. That decision changes everything. Time blindness once ruled you. Now you rule your response to it. You do not wait for motivation. You engineer conditions, lighting, music, movement, silence. Each element becomes a lever. You pull them with intent. Focus answers like a trained beast. There is a quiet realization here. Discipline does not mean forcing yourself to be normal. Discipline means respecting your wiring enough to build systems that protect it. This is where most advice fails you. It tries to flatten storms. You learn to ride them. A memory surfaces again. Early morning this time. Sun barely rising. You wake before the alarm, not anxious, clear. You know exactly what to do. One task, then rest. Then another. Momentum carries you forward without friction. This is new. This is earned. You stop chasing balance. You build cycles. Intensity followed by recovery. Creation followed by silence. Engagement followed by withdrawal. The world calls this inconsistency. You call it regulation. Your nervous system finally feels safe inside your own life. The shame loops lose power now. When you miss something, you adjust instead of attack. Self-respect replaces self-punishment. This is not softness, it is efficiency. Shame drains energy. Respect multiplies it. You choose multiplication. The myth deepens. You realize many innovators were misunderstood, not because they were wrong, but because they moved on a different clock. They arrived early to futures others could not see yet. You stop asking for validation from people living in yesterday. Another micro-story ignites. A room filled with noise. Opinions flying. Panic rising. You feel the familiar urge to shut down. Instead, you breathe. You listen deeper. Patterns emerge. You speak once. The room stills. That moment changes how you see yourself forever. You are not scattered. You are expansive. You do not lack focus. You command it when conditions align. This truth becomes armor. Criticism slides off. Comparison loses bite. You measure progress internally now, against clarity and impact, not arbitrary deadlines. The third transformation strategy fully activates here. You ritualize transitions. Starting becomes sacred, ending becomes clean. You do not drift anymore. You move with intent between states. Work to rest, rest to creation. This prevents burnout at the root. Burnout was never caused by effort. It was caused by friction. By forcing square minds into round systems, you remove friction relentlessly now. You simplify inputs. You guard attention. You choose fewer battles. Power concentrates. There is a final childhood image. You sitting alone, staring out a window, lost in thought. Someone tells you to pay attention. You were paying attention, just not to what they valued. That child was practicing depth. You honor that child now, by building a life that rewards it. You feel the ascension, not dramatic. Grounded, solid. You move slower externally, faster internally. Decisions sharpen, execution steadies. People feel your presence before you speak. That is authority. Quiet, earned. Storm imagery fades into clarity. No thunder now, just pressure harnessed. Steel cooled, edges refined. You are no longer fighting your mind. You are leading it. That shift alone separates survivors from architects. You accept that some days will still slip. Time will blur again. That does not scare you. You have systems to recover. You trust yourself. Trust is the final currency. With it, momentum always returns. You stop explaining time blindness. You demonstrate mastery over it. Results speak. Consistency emerges not as rigidity, but as rhythm. Others ask how you do it. You smile internally. You know the cost. You paid it in awareness and courage. This is the mythic end. Not a finish line, but a throne built from self-understanding. You sit on it comfortably. You are not broken. You were never lazy. You were built different, and now you are built deliberately. Your brain does not live by the clock. It lives by momentum, meaning, and mastery. Protect that. Train it. Lead it. The world will eventually adapt to you or fall behind quietly. Subscribe for the next ascent.